Hi everyone, good morning. Welcome back to this channel, Soulish Fam. If this is your first time tuning in, there's no makeup look. I just dropped off my son this morning and this is just an impromptu. As always, I like to check in and see what's going on with you guys. And I don't know if I can do a really full book review of this one because it's so thick. But most of the things that I've been talking on my channel, I feel like this book says it all. About accountability, about not playing a victim. I feel like the author and I were in sync because I was reading this and I'm like, I can't believe the author says exactly what I have been saying to you guys, that in order for you to have the kind of life that you want to live, you need to be proactive. But that's not the topic of today. Today's topic is about keeping your commitments and keeping your promises. Living a life with integrity. This is not the most popular topic. As we all know, Jesus specifically said that thief comes in to steal, to kill, and destroy, and the father of all lies is Satan himself. Integrity is not the popular word in our society because Satan is the author of lies. I just want to tell you a story. This is not a vent. I don't really like to vent here, but there was a appointment that I made because our apartment is infested with cockroaches. This has been an ongoing problem, and we made an appointment for this from this company, and who was supposed to show up. We waited, my husband and I, because the guy said, we're going to come back, we're going to do the fumigation, and we're going to ask you to remove all of your items from your kitchen. Mind you, my husband and I did that. The night before, we removed all of the items from our kitchen cabinets and put it aside as we were instructed to do so. He never mentioned about taking care of the bedroom parts. He just said, we're going to do the kitchen and the toilets area, the bathroom per se. And therefore, he arrived later on that day. We waited for the whole day. And that's what I said. Making sure that when you say something, especially when you have a business, you make sure you have that kind of commitment. Let your yes be yes and no be no. Anything in between is confusion. And do you know who's the author of confusion? It's Satan himself. Not only Satan does not keep his promises, and he is a liar of all the liars, and he also makes you confused. It just shows that this generation really have no accountability and they have no integrity. As the man arrived from this company, I don't know the company that my apartment is using, it's a third-party contractor, and he declined to say, I am not going to do the spraying, the fumigation, because suddenly he just went into the other bedroom. We discussed about the kitchen and the bathroom, nothing to do about the bedroom. He just talked himself out of it, and suddenly he said, well, I can't do the job because I told you to remove all of these things from the underneath the sink. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a bedroom. This is not part of the discussion we have discussed previously. And he just adamant, I can't do it. Well, there was no apology. There was no saying, I'm sorry for the inconvenience that I've caused you, because all of those stuff are laying in our table everywhere. There's spots, there were things that we have to put our stuff from the kitchen. The inconveniences, the obnoxiousness that this man, he just said, I don't want to argue with you. I said to him, my husband was here. He is my witness. Even my husband can attest that you never said anything about the bedroom. You only said about the kitchen and the bathroom. And he just walked away. And that's the kind of very much disrespectful in the way that you deal with the business. That's not how I want to deal with business. If you're going to work with a client and if you have this obnoxious mindset in you, you're not supposed to be doing business, because business wants integrity, keeping your promises, and be committed. And if you somehow screwed up, and if you somehow did not keep the end of the bargain, the least that you can do is apologize for the inconvenience that you have caused me and my husband, because here we have wasted our time and energy. Although I saw the silver lining, I'm like, okay, at least I can, start cleaning the cabinets and dust it off. But other than that, we need to really call up people for their kind of the things that are uncalled for that they're doing. And this is what the book is saying. The book of the 7 Habits of Highly, I know this is not my book, I'm plugging it. I'm gonna put it on the link below if you like to read it. Although if you don't want to spend money on this book, you can go to the library. Okay, so I borrowed from the library. So he said that at the very heart of our circle of influence is our ability to make and keep commitments and promises. The commitments we make to ourselves and to others, and our integrity to those commitments, are the essence and the clearest manifestation of our proactivity. I know there's a lot to dissect here. It is also the essence of our growth. Through our human endowments of self-awareness and conscience, we become conscious of our areas of weaknesses, areas for improvement, areas of talent that could be developed, areas that we need to be changed or eliminated from our lives. So he's saying that if you want to have a circle of influence, especially when you're in the business and people want to refer you to other clients, then you must have your integrity. As he said here, you must commit and keep your promises. Because as I said, how can a person hire you as a contractor if you have no credibility, if you cannot keep your promise at the end of the bargain? The same thing with any relationship. The same thing with marriage. This principle is applicable in business setting, being a mother, being a wife, and your friendship. You need to have this kind of attitude and characteristics. Commitment is hard, especially when we see this propaganda that at the end is always greener on the other side. When your marriage is falling apart, it's not perfect. Yes, we're going to go through the hard patches in life. Marriage is hard. It takes commitment. It takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of effort to really make your relationship work. It takes two people to tango, as cliche as it may sound, but it's the truth. If you want to work in your relationship, just because you have miscommunication, I'm not saying that if your husband is beating you up to the punch and you're just going to allow him to do that. Of course not. I'm saying if you have an exchange of words sometimes because you have this emotional turmoil and you just say things that you don't think about, especially when you are upset with your husband. I say a lot of bad things. He says a lot of bad things. And sometimes when we calm down, we apologize and we just move on. I am not talking about someone who's just beating you up to the punch, although sometimes they say verbal abuse is abuse, but it's something that it's between you and your husband to decide. Other than that, I do not really agree on this fairy tale as we see on television. If that is the kind of mindset that we have, that everything is hard, when everything is hard, rather, we're just gonna run and pack our bag and run to the hills. No one is gonna be married. No one in this life is going to remain married if that is the kind of mentality that we have. C.S. Lewis said, marriage is like love, rather, is an act of the will. It is a verb. This book also talks about that. It is an action. It is a choice. It is a sacrifice. As Jesus defined love in 1 Corinthians, Paul said, love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not demand its own way. It bears all things. It believes all things. It endures all things. However, as we live in our generation, we are actually raising people that are entitled, brat. When it doesn't work, then I must give up. I'll just run away because it's so hard. We are not taught to really, in the process of being patient and enduring the hardship. We are just the generation that we are told that everything is quick. It is a overnight success. We think that there's a magic wand says, tomorrow you're going to have all these millions of dollars. It just doesn't work like that. That is not the law of nature. As you see a farmer, I grew up in a farm. My grandfather was a farmer where he had to build this kind of irrigation for the rice fields. And he had to hire a lot of people who will plant the seeds in the field, on the field, to just plant the rice. And eventually you have to wait until that harvest is going to be done. And that is something that we have to really be aware of our generation today. That commitment, keeping promises is something that is not easy to do, because if it was that easy, everybody would have done it. Unfortunately, that is not the kind of lesson that we are taught, because we just think, especially today, everything is quick, microwavable, drive through. If somehow we're waiting in the line, we get so impatient. We are always checking on our phone. It's like, when is it going to be over? We're stuck in the traffic. We're always being distracted. We are constantly trying to entertain ourselves, and instead of checking in with our heart and looking in within, it says, what are the things that I'm trying to improve? We somehow look around to fix us up. So he also said that you need to have awareness and conscience. As I said, conscience is knowing what's right from wrong. Do not tell me that you don't know what's right from wrong, that if you're late, you must apologize for being late. If you cannot show up or if you can't do the job, you must apologize for the inconveniences that you have caused to people. As I said, even though you have not had the 10 commandments of Moses, you do have a conscience. The knowing how, the knowing between right and wrong. How does a human being with decency act? If that was done to you, would you like it? It's always, you have to really think about it. If this situation was turned around and this was done to me, how would you feel and how would you like it? This is how you empathize with people. And when you have no empathy, you think that it's just a transaction. It's just a business. Who cares? And that kind of mentality is not supposed to, that's not how you're supposed to deal with a business. Because as I said, it all comes back to mutual respect. It has reciprocity. If you want me to respect you, therefore you must respect me. If you want me to communicate with you openly, then you must do the same thing for me. You cannot expect something from people if you yourself have failed to have an open communication. Because some people really just shows that kind of immaturity. And that's what this author is saying. You need to have self-awareness and your conscience. You need to have a person of, you're aware that what you have done is wrong and what you have done is disrespectful and what you have done is actually unprofessional. And as I said, if I would be a client and I would hire you, and if I hired you and you get paid for it and you don't show up when I ask you to show up, and if you did not do the job when I ask you to do, I'm sorry, I am not going to have another business with you because you are not reliable. You cannot keep your promises. As the Bible is clear, let your yes be yes and no be no. And this is why, as I said, in a relationship, anything in life takes commitment. Doing this video takes commitment. Making my podcast takes commitment. Raising my child so that he can grow up in a godly man, is a commitment. It is not something that you just wake up and you're just like, oh, everything is going to be fine. No, you need to put effort. You need to have energy. You need to have dedication and discipline. The same thing with working out. And if you want to have the ideal body, you need to have the kind of commitment, not just thinking about today. So you think about commitment long term. If you say, I want to lose 5 pounds, what is your goal? How can you lose the 5 pounds? Many people just wish for something, but they don't want to do the work because working part is very hard. We think that working out is easy. It takes, again, commitment. The athlete, for instance, they were not the greatest athlete if they did not commit themselves to show up at the gym day after day, day in and day out, eating the right food and just sacrificing some things that they're supposed to sacrifice. The same thing with businesses. Whatever you do in this life, it takes commitment. For instance, this morning, I didn't want to go work out, but I'm trying to push myself. Glenna, remember when you work out for at least 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you feel good about it. Something shifted in your mindset. You feel energetic. Somehow you can bring the day with brightness and expectation because you moved your body. I really think that God is making sure that we use our time, allocate our time in the best way we can. That's what Jesus said. I have come that you may have life and have it abundantly. Life is for living. Life is supposed to be for growing and thriving and hope that we can learn from our mistakes. And as I said, if you also want to eat healthy food and lose weight, then probably at nighttime, maybe you should cut too much sugar. I'm trying to do that, like soda are the things. You really have to assess your life. You are like the author, co-author of your life. God is the author, but you're the co-author. And if you want to design your life, not just by default, if you want to be designer, like a blueprint, before you have a house, before somebody built a house, as the book would also said this, you need to have a blueprint. You need to have this idea of the kind of house that you want to build. How many bedrooms do you want, the upstairs or downstairs? The kind of, maybe you want a bungalow house, or what kind of house would you like to build? The same thing with our lives. As Jesus said, you must count the cost before you build something in your life. You must see and assess if this is what the kind of life I want. If you're not happy with the life that you have, it is actually your own problem. It is your own fault, because you probably, one way or another, are passive aggressive. As this book also speak about, there are three kinds of people. He said it's either you're reactive, you're passive, or you're proactive. We want to be proactive in this life. We don't want to be reactive. People are just reactive when bad things happen, right? We react. Oh my gosh, bad things happen. I need to change something. I'm not losing weight because I've been eating too much. And we become reactive when somehow we don't feel good about ourselves. Then we react into something. And the people are passive. They're just whatever goes. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. That is not the kind of mindset that we want. If we really want to live life to the fullest, the way that Jesus said, I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly, exceedingly. I believe Jesus is speaking body, soul, and your spirit. He wants us to prosper in our body. May it be your mental, physical health, check about yourself, dealing with your soul, what is going on inside of you, dealing with your traumas, dealing with your mother wounds, your father wounds, whatever things that you have been through in life. That is the soul. If you have a healthy soul, you're just going to show up differently in the world. And your spirit. Jesus said, no man should live by bread alone, but the word of God that comes out of his mouth. If you're not feeding with your spirit, you can be the most attractive woman in the world, have the fit and toned body, but you're spiritually dead. There are many people today who looks good on the outside, but they're spiritually dead. They have no Jesus in them. They have no Holy Spirit in them. But in God's eyes, they are nothing but dead man walking. They're zombies. You just look at them as if they have it put together, but they don't have the Spirit of God. But when we really live for Jesus, we must thrive in those three areas. This is why it's sad to see that many Christians today, they neglect their physical health. They just all about the spiritual. I'm getting out of the tangent, but it's all related. Because if you want to commit to live a perfect life the way that Jesus lived on this earth, you must be committed in those three areas: body, spirit, and soul. You cannot just be spiritualizing everything, but you're not losing weight, you're overweight. I'm trying not to offend people today, but let's be honest. How many Christians that you see on television or in your church that are overweight, heavy? Because everything is spiritualized, right? Everything is spiritualized, casting out the devil. Like, it's not always the devil's fault that you have gained that weight. It's your fault. You don't want to work out because you think everything is spiritual. This is where this disconnect that we see also in the church. On the other hand, there are people that make it spiritual and make it physical. It's all about the looks, but they don't care about the spiritual matter. If you really believe in this Bible, you have to take it for what it is, because Jesus talks about spirituality. He talks about physicality. That's why he said, I am the bread of the living. I am the bread of life. I am the bread of the living. I am the water of the living water, the water of the fountain of living water, and then the bread of life. Jesus is talking about the tangible things as well as the spiritual things. We cannot disconnect the two. They are invisible signs of visible reality. Invisible things that you cannot see, touch, hear, feel with your five senses. These are invisible things that Jesus talked about. It will manifest on the visible. It's what's going on in the inside. That's why Jesus said, the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. If you want to live a life committed for Jesus, you must not only spend your time spiritualizing everything, you also have to look at your physical body. Because people are going to look at us physically. People are going to judge us based on our appearance. That's how people judge us. God judges people through our spiritual, our heart. That's why you can't say, well, I'm a Christian. You cannot separate secular and Christianity. You are a Christian who loves to go to the gym. You are a Christian who loves to eat healthy food. You are a Christian who is a mother. You cannot separate the two. As I said, if you want to commit your life to Jesus, you cannot just neglect your physical body, and you cannot just neglect the promises that you have made to people. As I said, you need to walk the talk and talk the walk. It's hard. I know it's easier said than done. This is why Jesus said, Paul said, do not be weary of doing good. In due season, you will reap the harvest when you are doing something good. You and I are like the athlete in this world. We are running for a race. This is a race. And that's what Jesus said. When someone is running for a race, they have to keep going at it, even though it's hard. Have you seen a person running in a marathon or walking, joining a marathon? They don't stop in the middle of the race. They continue, even though they're tired. And it seems like, I can't do this anymore. In the same way with us, there are times that we're tired. We're dealing with the same issues with our family, maybe your spouse, your work. I don't know what kind of problems you have, but every one of us have problems. I have a problem. I have to do things that I don't like to do, but I have to do it. So these are the things that commitment, dedication, integrity is one of the key ingredients to living the life that you want to fulfill in this lifetime. We all have to take responsibility. We need to be proactive. And proactivity, just the notes that I had, because as I said, the proactivity approach number 1 is that acknowledge it and the mistakes that you have made. Okay, so our behavior must be governed by principles according to this book. Governed by principles. What is principle? This is the rules that you apply or that you live by. These are the belief system that you are trying to live for yourself. Principle supposed to be your guide. Where do you look for that? For me, I look in the Bible. I don't look anywhere else. Well, of course, there are certain books like this book right now that talks about principle. And he says that living in harmony with those principles, there are positive consequences. And if you're not living with those principles, you are going to have negative consequences. It is the law of sowing and reaping. And he said to be proactive in life, you need to acknowledge your mistake. You need to assess your life and then correct it. It is important to admit and correct our mistakes so that they have no power over the next moment and we are empowered again. Because some people make the same mistakes over and over again because they don't take accountability. They just forget about what they did and they just say, I didn't do anything wrong. No one's watching. I am not going to apologize. I'm perfect. So this is why people keep doing the same mistakes over and over again. Proactivity number 2 is the commitments we make to ourselves and to others. Our integrity matters. Commitment and integrity do matter. As I said, if you're a woman and a man who has no integrity and you cannot commit to something, why should I trust you? Why should I believe you? Why should I want to be involved with you when you're a person who cannot commit and who is a liar? Therefore, there are days and there are times in our lives that, unfortunately, the people that we encounter with, they don't really mean what they say and they don't say what they mean. Mean what you say and say what you mean, because sometimes people are always conflicted. When you listen to people, sometimes when they speak, sometimes they have conflicting ideas. And if you're very good at listening skills, you can catch them and you can call out, wait a minute, your own statement is contradicting yourself. Because some people truly are good at lying. And we need to be careful that we just don't take people's words. We have to be an active listening. And number 3, he said, to be proactive in life, you need to have self-awareness. Aware of our weaknesses, the areas for you to improve, areas of your talent that need to be developed, and areas that could be eliminated. So being aware is, what are your weaknesses? My weaknesses used to be, I was a people pleaser. I love to just do things for the sake of belonging, for the sake of I want to belong, or people need to like me or to love me. Therefore, I will perform. And even though it was something that is detrimental to my health and my well-being, that was my weaknesses, a people pleaser. I would put myself on the back burner for the sake of trying to please people. And that is a weakness. Another thing was perfectionist. Perfectionism was something also that I had to deal with. As I said, being perfect is not the same as being perfectionist. What's the difference? Being perfect is being excellent, quality over quantity. You aim at achieving the highest peak of your job, career. You will show up and give your best. You give an extra mile. When Jesus said, if somebody asks you to go 1 mile, maybe you want to go another mile. Perfectionism, however, is people who are afraid of trying to do things because they're afraid of failure. They don't want to make mistakes. That's why they're perfectionists. They always say, I will do that when the right time is here. I'm going to wait for the right time. I'm going to wait for the perfect moment when my teeth is fixed, when my hair is wonderful. Like today, I don't care. I had no makeup. I just never had a chance to shower yet. I know it's too much information, but I said I just have to really share this important information. You just have to stop overthinking things, because perfectionist people, they overthink things. They analyze everything, and that's why they have this tendency of paralysis. They become paralyzed with overly thinking, the analysis paralysis. I'm pretty sure you have heard about this many times here. And of course, it says that you need to be aware of the improvement of your areas, talents that need to be developed. There are many talents in my life. I always like to sing, but I am not the greatest singer. I wish I was able to cultivate them, but no one in my life was able to push me to hone those skills, because as I said, I was asked to do something else other than pursuing music and singing. And these are the talents that you can do in your own spare time. How can you improve in your communication skills? How can you improve in your writing? Maybe you should write more and also read more books. To be a writer, you need to read a lot of books and to also write every day. It's like going to the gym, exercising your muscle. How do you develop your muscle? Is you lift some weights. So these are the areas that you need to be improving. And last but not the least, he said, to be proactive, you need to have responsibility. To be a responsible person, you need to have knowledge, skill, and desire, and you need to develop these three things. You cannot blame everybody else's fault. It's everyone's fault. As I said before, yes, there are people in our lives that have contributed to our own problem. There are people in our lives that have caused us pain and suffering. But at the end of the day, it is still our responsibility in how we can move past that. We can either be a victim of our circumstance, or we can be a victor. Either you can take your knowledge, whatever happened to you, and share that to the world and inspire others, or you can develop a skill, which is people skill, communication skills, social skills, and the desire. Let's talk about skill. Skill is something that we are not born with. For instance, as a baby, you have to teach, or a child, you need to teach the child to get out of the diaper. When I was training my son to be to not pee on his diaper, I had to put him on the potty training. Communication skills, writing. The same thing with my son. I was trying to teach him how to write letters from alphabet A to Z, how to count from 1 to 100, and how to write his name. These are the skills that we have to teach. The skills that we have to learn as an adult is communication skills. Listening skills is also important. Unfortunately, as I said, we are not taught to go to school. We are only taught about how to be intellectually memorizing events, numbers, historical facts, but we are never taught how to have emotional intelligence. And that is a skill set that we need to develop. Because as I have learned, many humans today who have an adult body, but they don't know how to regulate their emotions. They don't know how to have this kind of, I need to just step away, or I need to just be quiet right now because I can't talk to you, or everything for them is an argument. They can't really rebuttal. They can't really share what they have to say. For them, it's like, it's too hard for me to have this conversation. Everything is a threat. Everything is an attack. So when I listen carefully to the people in my life, for them, it seems as though that's exactly what the guy said. I don't want to argue with you. Instead of saying, I apologize for the inconveniences that I have caused you. Excuse me. Instead of walking away with no apology, as the guy just showed up and never said anything, he just walked away. that's what I said. He lacks of communication. And he's not the only one. I have encountered couples and people in my life that they don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to explain themselves. When you ask them a question, why did you take this route? Why do you do this all the time? Another thing of a person who does not take accountability and responsibility, they generalize everything. You always do this. Why do you always do this every time? As I said, if you have no self-awareness, you think that everything is an attack to you. You generalize everything. You exaggerate everything. And that's why people that have no responsibility, they're not self-aware, they just say things without thinking. They just say things out of a habit, because we are humans of habit and we don't really know what in the world we're coming out of our mouth. And that's why when you're self-aware and you know exactly what's coming out of your mouth and thinking about it, you're thinking through it, and people are going to say, she knows exactly what she's talking about, or he doesn't know what she's talking about. And he said the desire, we need to have the responsibility of desire. This is my last point. Desire could be bad or it could be good. Desire is something to do with ambition. You have the desire to make more money. You have the desire to live in a mansion, perhaps. You have the desire to finish your college degree. You have a desire to marry the Mr. Perfect. You have the desire to achieve your goals. Another way of bad desire is eating too much sugar. Desire to stay up late, and it's going to compromise, it's going to sabotage your health. You have the desire to just spend your money frivolously without thinking about the future. You have the desire to impulse buying. You have the desire to overindulgence, like eating too much sugar or chocolates or candies and drinking too much alcohol and doing drugs. These are bad desire. These are based on impulses that we have to be careful. So desire is good. He said to take responsibility, you need to have knowledge, skill, and desire. However, we also need to differentiate between what's a good desire and a bad desire. The same thing in a marriage. Sometimes you want to sleep with another man or a woman because you desire that person. He's attractive or she's so gorgeous, and I'm tired of sleeping with the same man for 12 years or 13 years. So you have the desire. However, desire, when it's not watched or it's not contained and you have no self-control, it becomes a disastrous. So therefore, my beautiful friends and my fabulous supporters out there, I hope that you are blessed with this message. I gotta go and enjoy this beautiful, gorgeous day, and stay fabulous, be bold, be brave, be courageous, and I'll see you on my next video.